Ladies and gentlemen, it's another review from Lockdown Movie Reviews. Just throwing this one out here, I will say that I've always been a Trekkie. I've always been a Star Wars person. I've been a Firefly person. It can't happen, they say. I will say that I have not seen the two new versions that are streaming. I just don't have the resources to go and see those. But they did put Star Trek Discovery on CBS. And while I am familiar with some of the old dogma from um, the original um, Trekkie groups, and we would have, every time a new Star Trek was opened up, my family would be there together. And it was the only thing that they'd all get around and talk about and everything else. And it was absolutely wonderful. Nowadays, it's like we never did that, never happened, everything else. It's like, well, that's proof positive that whatever it is with, because we're too scared to say the Mussolini Empire, it's replaced my family and everything else. And um, I'm like their sole hostage, trying to teach them how to live and be Americans. Now that's a sitcom comedy. But let me tell you, I watched several of those episodes. I started a little bit before I did my lockdown, and I came up with the name a little bit before I got locked down here for the channel. And I just have to say, it is very interesting. I wish I had my iPhone up here working with me so I could have the list of the actors by name. I think that is very interesting about how they brought Sarek into this. And I know it's a kind of a one that deals with separate timelines and realities. Not trying to spoil anything for you all. There's a couple of aliens that are very important. The Pavans are just very interesting. I only remember them from one of the old original Star Trek series mentioning in the elevator rides they had. And I have to say, the captain is spot on, chosen for it. The way that they portray Klingon culture in it is very much more in depth than a lot of situation. It opens up a lot of understanding. And while me knowing some of the, I guess you'd say, dogma to it, means I know a little bit what will happen, the acting and the stories in between are absolutely fascinating. It is brand new in every single way, uses technologies that are brand new for the series. So it keeps the intellectual mind constantly thinking and working. The depth of the characters dealing with their own versions of failed combat, second coming into, such as the character Michael, being a convict from Starfleet, the first mutineer, and then finding a type of rebirth, does speak to a lot of the psyche that I've heard from a lot of people. Even myself, in military states, such as the volunteer state, going into the military is kind of like your only chance at life, and is kind of a look at of a chance of rebirth, giving yourself to that which is your own personal choice, and making yourself and forging yourself into your own weapon. Even though there's training, there's drill sergeants, everything else. And to have that stripped away and then given back, and through the complex situation of Michael being raised on Vulcan by Spock's dad as an adopted child, and then going into Starfleet, is absolutely wonderful. the portrayal of it and the growth over the series for it is spot on, interestingly, wonderfully portrayed. And the interaction between the other actors, the captain of security surviving prisoner of war situations, combat fatigue, everything else. The whole situations over that speak very much to a lot of the military psyche as far as those that I would know from it. Yes, there are a couple of things that, yes, it's so routine, but I understand that it's for a new audience. I've known those from movies such as the Missing in Action series and everything else, which does delve deeper into it without a continual working situation where they work with it and deal with it in all their different ways. And each one of the characters is a little bit damaged in it. But they somehow can continue on. They pull each other on for it. Each one has a flaw, has combat fatigue, has over muscle memory training for it. The waking up in the bed scene and coming over and being over your partner all of a sudden, making sure that they're really them because they bumped into you at night and you're holding the gun over the top of them. You knew not to shoot them, but you still had to check. These things, while they're not like the original Star Treks, are something that is of the modern era and does bring this very much in, even though it's just 3 seasons long, into the understanding of the modern psyche with this long war, the war of Iraq, basically lasting since 1990 till now. Even if there are no situations therein with it, it is a very interesting and different situation. For me, being around so many people that are just like that, even with the one admiral who was so quick to get in bed with an old friend that she hadn't seen in so long, but then wakes up with him over the top of her, each one trying to see which one could pull rank and blame the other one for bad mistakes or judgments. Everything shows wonderfully in this extremely elite scientific marvel of new technology and new ways of thinking of space and everything, with just the fact that people have lives and people have never known the real situations as far as combat fatigue, failure at achieving what was there and basically becoming one of the grunts in the war society from what could be higher, I guess, Harvard learning to those that are always super skittish even though they're one of the strongest ones out there. I think this is an absolute watch. I probably wouldn't binge watch every single one of them together. But as far as it is with it on ABC on, I think, Thursday nights here at 9 or 8, and it's on demand, I would definitely check it out. And it seems to be a very wonderful, well attuned, and wonderful television show. And it's totally reinvented the Star Trek franchise in a good way to keep it still breathing and moving along. Colin Dawson with Lockdown Movie Reviews. Like and subscribe.